episode of Building Iconic Brands. Today, I want to tell you a story of how two friends in their 20s in Australia came together to build a $1 billion toothpaste brand. Way back in 2014, Alex Toming and Nick Mokovic came together to start a oral healthcare brand. Now, at that moment, they found that traditional players like Oral-B and Colgate were speaking to mass audiences and they weren't really marketing a specific product to millennials. So they simply found a gap. None of these established brands were selling a product that appealed to millennials or the Gen Z population. So what they did was they decided to come up with a DIY teeth whitening kit because it was incredibly popular back then. And what they did was, instead of going direct to retail, they went direct to consumer using online channels. People were buying on e-commerce platforms and this was growing widely back in 2014-2015. So they decided to start their own e-commerce store through which they could sell the toothpaste that they made. And in addition to that, what they also did was they tapped into micro-influencers like Kylie Jenner to advertise their brand. Not only Kylie Jenner, they also tapped into several other influencers to create reels and viral videos on how HiSmiles and how HiSmiles' teeth whitening kit is special. This created more virality for them, and then they also started taking advantage of Facebook ads, Instagram ads and TikTok ads to grow their brand even further. Now, by doing this, they were able to increase their sales rapidly and they were able to achieve scale real quick. Now, as a result of this, what they did was they expanded from just selling DIY teeth whitening kits to toothpaste, floss, and various other dental healthcare products. As of 2023, their annual revenue was around $300 million, and they are well on their way to making $1 billion in annual revenue. So what can we learn from the growth story of HiSmiles? So as you know, HiSmiles built a $1 billion brand in a relatively short period of time. Now, first of all, we have to get rid of the notion that it will take several decades to build a $1 billion brand. Now, we always knew that tech businesses can be built to a $1 billion brand relatively quick, but in other industries it would take time. But here, HiSmiles stands out as a differentiator. They came out in an industry which is pretty boring, oral dental healthcare, and still built a $1 billion brand by taking advantage of these new channels of marketing. So if they can do it, so can you. All you have to do is spot a gap in the market like HiSmiles did. So they found that millennials did not have a oral healthcare product that appealed to them. So they created a product, achieved product to market fit, and then they simply started scaling with their marketing. The second lesson that we can learn from the HiSmiles success story is that sometimes you don't have to do marketing the old way. You can explore new ways. So typically for an oral healthcare product, the actual way of doing marketing would be to go direct to retail, to basically list themselves in retail stores and hope to sell more of the products. But here, HiSmiles reinvented the wheel. Instead of going direct to retail, they went direct to consumer through online channels. Now, by going direct to consumer through online channels, they were able to reach more audiences at their control. They simply used ads to reach out to more audiences. If they had money, they would pump money into the ads and that would reach out to more audiences. If they had gone through traditional retail, they would have gone through various bureaucracies. There's a possibility that retail stores may have not welcomed their product, and then they may not have been able to achieve this much of amount of scale. And they may not have been able to achieve this much amount of scale in a relatively short period of time. So that's the lesson that we have to learn. We don't have to always depend on the traditional marketing channels. Sometimes we can explore new channels. Now, given that these guys were in their 20s and they were hungry to grow, they decided to explore a new channel. But if you were speaking to a seasoned MBA professional who is probably 40 or 50 and you had asked him, where should HiSmiles go? He would have probably said, go to the retail stores. So this is where HiSmiles reinvented the wheel, and that's the lesson that we have to learn. That we don't have to stick to the old ways of marketing that traditional brands do. We can explore new ways of marketing. The third lesson that we can learn from the HiSmiles growth story is to use influencers effectively. Now, one of the things that I really liked that HiSmiles did was they made use of micro-influencers, and they also used popular influencers like Kylie Jenner very well. Using Kylie Jenner to market a beauty product, that's where you're achieving the ideal influencer marketing fit. Now, similarly, in your industry, for whatever product that you have, you may have some influencers. If you get their endorsement, your product can grow incredibly viral. So you have to think about who are those influencers that can basically make your product go viral and get their endorsement. So if we do these three things, all of us have the chance and the ability to build an iconic brand. Now I'm not saying that everybody can build a $1 billion brand like HiSmiles did, but everybody has the ability to build an iconic brand if we apply these lessons from HiSmiles. So think about your own business and then see what you can do to build an iconic brand. If you like this content, kindly share, like and subscribe. Thank you.